What does GBA mean? What does it do to the city? What are the problems and challenges that the city faces today? And how is the city preparing for the future?
Theoretically, now you will have one institutional way by which everybody is on the table. You say, these are my requirements. See what are the issues which other people are facing, and they all can come to a common conclusion on how you can implement projects.
So, Mr. Rao, we had reached out to social media and public at large, asking them, what would you want us to ask you? So a lot of questions came, and we've distilled some of those questions to ask you some questions around GBA.
If you look at Metro, I think the kind of affection people have for the Metro is huge in Bangalore. One, it has caught the imagination of the citizens of Bangalore. It's been doing a fantastic
it's where people
job.
have hope in terms of...
Yes, but in a city like Bangalore, doing a metro project has its own challenges. We also thought that it's a good time to have a lot of memes in the city, right? So
then let people have some fun at your cost.
Okay.
Somewhere you have to get blamed somewhere.
Do you want to talk about some of the big infrastructure projects that the city is looking at next 5-10 years?
You wouldn't be surprised to know that Bangalore also has one of the best public transport networks. At the end of the day, the vision is that Bangalore should continue this rapid pace of growth.
So Bangalore today is amongst the fastest growing cities, not just in India, globally. It's also a global tech startup hub. It's a global city in some sense. The growth has brought in opportunities, enormous opportunities, but it has also brought in many challenges. What does it take to manage a city with 15 million people, over 720 square kilometer spread and more growing? That's what we wanted to look at, right? Our co-host today is Prakash, co-founder of UnboxingBLR. And we have a guest, Mr. Maheshwar Rao. In his earlier avatar, he's had a veteran bureaucrat. More recently, he was heading Bangalore Metro, BMRCL. And just very recently, he was the BBMP head. And now he's in the news for GBA, Greater Bengaluru Authority. What does GBA mean? What does it do to the city? What are the problems and challenges that the city faces today? And how is the city preparing for the future? Those are some of the areas that we'll talk about in our podcast today, Mr. Rao. In the 90s, I remember in Delhi, Mr. Sridharan was just getting started, and I'd met him. And the kind of meticulous approach, the way Delhi Metro was built, despite so many challenges. When you got started with BMRCL, talk us about when you took on this position, references, inspirations, learnings that you brought along, looking at others.
Of course, Delhi Metro is the big brother in terms of metro, but we have had some illustrious officers inside Karnataka who have taken it forward, right from Mr. Madhu, Mr. Madhu was there, of course, before that Mr. Srivastav. Then Mr. Shiv Sellam started the first reach, if I'm not wrong.
Mr. Ajay Seth.
Then Mr. Karola, who was there in now heading the ITPO in Delhi, and also Mr. Ajay Seth.
Yeah.
And of course, Mr. Anjum. All of them have in their own way contributed a huge amount to making the organization really, really efficient. So I just had to piggyback on what they were doing. So it was not very difficult. Systems are good, and the team itself is very, very driven to ensure the implementation is done. If you look at Metro, I think the kind of affection people have for the Metro is huge in Bangalore. One, it has caught the imagination of the citizens of Bangalore. It's been doing a fantastic
it's where people
job.
have hope in terms of...
Yes, but in a city like Bangalore, doing a metro project has its own challenges.
Talk about that, please.
There are so many stakeholders in Bangalore. So you go around, and then whatever due diligence you do, suddenly you can encounter some difficulties. One, of course, the metros have... the tunnel, we have two projects going on simultaneously. One is the elevated corridors. which is now going through the outer ring road, which a lot of people are watching closely. And we have the underground reaches, which goes to a place to the Bannerghatta, that is towards Bangalore. By and large, I think now they have got the systems figured out with terms of drilling, tunnel boring machines and drilling below the ground and getting the tunnels completed. But the kind of terrain you face is so difficult. Sometimes you will find soft mud, so that you'll have to be very careful. Sometimes the granite is so hard that it takes ages for it to go. So it is.
That's a unique to Bangalore.
It's very unique to Bangalore. It's unlike, say, Chennai or Delhi or any other part, even Mumbai, because you can just drill very quickly. So that has its own repercussions in terms of time, and of course the elevated reaches. The moment you drill, you find that there will be a water pipeline or there will be an electrical crossing which has to be cleared, and unless all of them are tackled, and sometimes the biggest problem is our own fact that there are so many vehicles in the city. In many locations, you have to ensure that your timings are such that it doesn't affect the normal day-to-day work.
No, I know you're no longer in BMRCL. Don't you think, so this is one clear focus to really accelerate, and I think it will it'll have a big catalytic effect to solve a lot of the challenges that we're facing with the commutes today in the city.
It's a fact that you sometimes feel that Bangalore, some of its difficulties, I think our minister has also been on record stating that you have 1.2 crore vehicles in the city for a 1.4 crore population.
Right.
So it has been a prosperous city, and will continue to be a prosperous city, God willing. And with that, you would find that you require to ensure your transportation network really focuses on moving people. And this has been recognized, and obviously the city is investing a huge amount of money. So Metro, like you said, to answer your question, any big city now will require public transportation, and Metro will always be, Metro in some form will be integral. It will be the backbone, and the state has really committed. In fact, what we found out is already investments have been approved for completing the ring road, making the line up to Sarjapur. The government has given its commitment. It's now sent to Government of India for its final consideration and approval.
But just any two next milestones for people to look forward to, just like the yellow line. What would be the next two big milestones for Metro?
So now they are, I think, hopeful that by March they should start the line which goes all the way from Gotigere. It's a place towards the southern part near Bangalore, and it goes towards the city center. So you will get that line through, I think, hopefully by September and next year. By March, they will finish the elevated portion, is our assumption.
Right. So sometime next year.
Yes. And sometime by end of next year, your outer ring road will also be through. It should happen anytime between June to December is the assumption.
There's a third big line to the airport. When do you think that?
That I think will take a further 6 months is the assumption.
So that will be more 2027.
So 2026 end 27 June is what was anticipated.
In fact, I want to talk about, in early 2000 when Delhi Metro was being built, one of the first questions everybody was asking, where is the ridership? Where is the ridership? It was very low. And then as the network got built out, right, the network's effect began to have its momentum. And then ridership built out. And then a certain threshold beyond which ridership just boomed. And that's probably what we would be expecting here in Bangalore, isn't it?
What happens is you're looking at some effect where people who go to work in office in peak time, it's almost 100% or 99%, 95% at least, I think. But you wouldn't be surprised to know that Bangalore also has one of the best public transport networks.
Highest
4.5 lakh people, 44 lakh people travel in the buses. I think more than any other city. given maybe I do not know, I'm not very sure about
Its bus
Mumbai.
fleet is the highest
Yes.
amongst all big cities, Delhi,
Yes.
Bombay,
Yeah.
Bangalore, Chennai,
Chennai.
whatever.
So 44 lakh people travel in the bus. So if you look at it this way, public transport network wise, we are fantastic. But still, I think somewhere we will have to ensure these last mile connectivity issues can be addressed
Right.
in some way, which is what I would love. I'm really focusing on or trying to
Yeah, as GBA, I think that
trying to get
yeah.
trying to put it on the table. And already a lot of discussion is happening. The minister has mentioned that wherever there's a requirement for the metro to have last mile connectivity, they will be willing to provide support. Hopefully, as things grow and you have interconnectivity between the metro and the bus network, and our take is like this: if you you basically want service, you want to travel to your place of work without having to have the hassle of waiting for anything at any time. So if you say if you're able to catch a bus, reach the metro station or whatever, or you can take a bus stand, get down at your next place of stop, and you have something waiting for you immediately, you will be okay with it.
So is this where you can think of a private collaboration which is seamlessly integrated and just multimodal solution then with tech and all the coordination elements that you're talking about can be made to work?
I think there is some discussion on this, on how you can get the tech-enabled platforms. ONDC has done some work to see if you can make available the data of your vehicles when they come in and go. BMTC does it. Now there are other stakeholders, including taxis and auto rickshaws, all the service providers. If in some way you can start booking your destination to your end point, people will be happy. I don't want to pay money for a public transport and then have to pay a huge amount for a taxi at any point of time.
The last question on metro is the speed of implementation. Is there some thought process at the GBA level?
I think we can speed up a little more,
but more focus on,
and be put a little more focused. But according to me, everybody, it's not for lack of effort. I mean, everybody in the organization there is really striving to ensure that it is completed within the time frame or within a certain, say, given everything, you will say that within 3 years we should be completed. So work does get fast, but suddenly some uncertainties crop up, you will have difficulties.
But the positive good news is that we are in striking distance of having one of the best metro networks in the country.
Yes, after Delhi, I think it will be one of the biggest.
Will GBA make any difference to how BMRCL is building metro, how it's being run?
The idea of the GBA itself, if you can look at what the lawmakers have given as its mandate, is to ensure that there is an institutional mechanism for coordination. So hopefully, the GBA's idea now is that, okay, look at, there are so many stakeholders in the city, not all of them are on the same platform. Can you bring it all together under a same platform, which is monitored by the Chief Minister and the Minister in charge of the district and urban development, and get all of them together and ensure their plans are in some way brought together, harmonized. So if you can do that, possibly implementation of projects will be faster, and the metro also will have a coordination mechanism. It's not that, otherwise you keep making ad hoc coordination mechanisms. Theoretically now you will have one institutional way by which everybody is on the table. You say these are my requirements, see what are the issues which other people are facing, and they all can come to a common conclusion on how you can implement projects. The corporations themselves, I think there was earlier one single corporation. Now under the GBA Act, there will be 5 independent corporations, and once the elected body comes, then they will be responding that much faster, because the wards are going to be smaller, and you are also going to have better ward committees, because you are going to have 14 people who will be there, people who want to contribute to the community. Now we'll find a voice in the ward committee to be able to talk about the issues and oversee and monitor issues which can be handled at ward level. So the idea is to create a ward committee, then you have the corporation, and you have a certain coordinating mechanism available even across corporations and across agencies which work within the corporation.
What would be the areas you think that would be all-encompassing across the corporations that you would handle? And that will maybe give people a little bit more clarity on the role and functioning.
Presently, there is you have the Bangalore, earlier it was the Bangalore City Corporation. You had a certain setup. A lot of projects were being driven from the center, and you had a lot of wards which were supposed to respond, but your ability to monitor them
Yes.
at some level and see what was
So
being
those
done.
are now, of course,
Now
in
it will become much
corporations.
smaller.
Yeah.
So you have lot of, second, within the organization we found out, I had gone for a nice morning walk in Whitefield, and we were just trying to see what are the issues being faced when you just look at conditions from the pedestrians perspective. You had a cable line going, it's everybody requires internet, right? It's there, some of them are tripwires. Then you have the drains which require to be desilted. Then you have somebody who has to look at mounds of say mud in some place, a leaf litter at some locations. You have some people throwing plastic and garbage at some locations. And then you have Bescom line which goes there. You have a cable duct. It could be internet cables, it could be TV cables. Then you would have the roads. Then you would have a stormwater drainage also nearby. Now, how many stakeholders are you going to talk to? So, and then you would have at some points you would be having an escalator which was a skywalk which was there, and bus stands which have been created, which again are difficult. I mean, you look at it from that perspective, suddenly you realize there are so many stakeholders both within the organization, or so many agencies within the organization and outside, who are there in this particular part of the city. Now, the question is, how do you bring it all together? And if we can put one person in charge, you will be able to say that, okay, I am in charge of this stretch. This is my area to ensure it's completely clean, spick and span, and it is completely useful for the citizens, and there will be no difficulties in this area. Then you will have the local person also knows whom to call to. If the person and the senior officers or the minister, if he wants something to be done, he will also be in a position to say, okay, find out what is the issue there, tell this guy that he's responsible, put accountability. So public know whom they want to talk to, we know who we have to talk to, and he also knows what's his responsibility. Now look at how the GBA's responsibilities have been given. One is, it's supposed to make model bylaws. So if you're looking at bylaws for construction, bylaws for building bylaws, you're looking
For
at
all corporations.
For all the corporations. We make it model, then they can be adopted. Government also has the power to make rules. So government will do some rules with regard to revenue, etc. But we are also authorized to make certain bylaws, take approval of the GBA and put it in the domain of the corporations, and they are free to adopt it. That's one. So when you talk about standards, this would be some of those areas which will be required. And if something cuts across corporations, then they can also refer it to the Greater Bengaluru Authority, saying that you can help us out in this. We are willing to entrust this work to you. Please take up these works. But those are decisions of the corporation. So in state government, if it wants some decisions taken, they can route it through the GBA. GBA can either say, okay, I ask this corporation to implement, if it is across one corporation, or there are some certain special purpose vehicles created. Like there is something called the B-Smile, which is taking up some huge amount of infrastructure projects. So it can ask in B-Smile to implement, or there is also a new SPV which has been created, I think around 3-4 years back, called Bangalore Solid Waste Management Limited, which will also look at issues of sanitation, cleanliness and stuff. So the structures are available. Now all you require is, in the GBA side, would be that each of these corporations know what they want first.
Yeah, and so that coordination, just like in the Metro case, with B-Smile and with the Solid Waste Management Authority, I think becomes a lot more seamless if done at the GBA level.
Done at the GBA level. That is the idea. So GBA has 2-3 mandates. One is coordination, which is one of the primary ideas. Second is making these model bylaws, etc. Third, it's also got an economic development agency attached to it, which is headed by the minister in charge of Bangalore. The idea is, how do you promote investment? How do you see how you can continue to make the city better? What are the areas which you should look at focus and development for the city? Because at the end of the day, Bangalore, the vision is that Bangalore should continue this rapid pace of growth.
Right.
And keep attracting people to come to the city.
So what you're talking about is planning, right? Planning for the city right now. It was
Yes.
just happening incremental, piecemeal.
Hmm.
And with GBA, that becomes a
Yes.
very important way of having an integrated view of the city.
Earlier, you used to have BDA which would do planning,
Yes.
and BDA would be a slightly larger area than Bangalore. Now, the planning function is also being given to the GBA. So, it will look at making plans. I think just recently we got a mandate to finalize the plan again for this Greater Bengaluru Authority, which is the old BBMP area. Now, government can decide to enhance this area under the Greater Bengaluru Authority in future, but presently they have notified or stated that this is going to be in the existing old BBMP area. So, the planning for these 5 corporations, the planning authority functions will be done by the Greater Bengaluru Authority.
Sure.
So, the whole idea is now for the emerging next to 10 to 15 years, you have to create a structure which allows for both coordination, planned growth, and also focused attention on some of the core jobs of the city. I mean, end of the day, I have to ensure that my street is clean, my lights are functioning, our roads are really motorable, people are there to respond to any difficulties or respond to any problem of the citizen. So, for that you have got 5 smaller bodies which are going to be much more agile. Everybody wants, everybody wants Bangalore to grow. So, you have created a lot of there are a lot of things which are happening together. One, you have the BDA, which is looking at the whole Bangalore urban district, maybe some areas surrounding Bangalore. You have got the Bangalore Metropolitan Regional Development Authority, or the Greater Bangalore Area Development Authority, which is looking at Bangalore South, which was again part of the old Bangalore Rural and now Ramnagar district. So, the whole idea would be at least 3,000 to 4,000 square kilometers should take care of.
And GBA would in some sense have the
major
chunk of this, right? So, you could drive that master planning, and of course, they're also stakeholders, bring them together.
Do you want to talk about some of the big infrastructure projects that the city is looking at next 5-10 years?
Of course, when you look at our rainwater net, the drain network, I won't say the drain. So, all the primary drains in the master plan, you have a limit of how many meters you can construct. They are the buffer areas. So, one idea was, can this also result in better connectivity in the city? At one time, there was even a huge discussion at one time, I think of course 20 years back, it has now been not discarded, was to see if you could use the stormwater drain network itself for public transportation.
Right.
But that has not, that has never.
But maybe even there we can look at a pilot.
It could be.
So, what kind of public transport you're talking about?
No, just the
buses,
space.
The space in
the space on the stormwater.
But that after the NGT orders, it's never been implemented.
But some of the spaces adjacent to that is what you're saying.
Spaces adjacent to it where you cannot do construction.
Yeah.
Those were planned for making roads, because then you pull out a lot of areas which were hitherto not connected are going through one single road, which will now be not doing so much of congestion. See, the issue which has happened, I think, in a couple of ways is, if you look at the way the city has grown, this lot of the development has happened on roads which where the entry and exit happens only through one place. There is no crossroads or additional roads, like say some of the older parts of the city. The requirement is close to about, what you have is a good network is around 20-21 kilometers per square kilometer of roads is available. Some of the newly developed areas, it comes down to as low as 9 or 10.
Whitefield.
In Whitefield. The huge plots available, but you cannot go through.
So you spoke about a lot of large projects. There's one project which is almost a monument now in Bangalore. You know what I'm talking about. Ejipura, Flyover. Everybody wants to know, what is the status? When can we have that flyover going? Do you have an answer?
Just today, our ministers, both Mr. Ramlinga Reddy, who is a minister for transportation and represents this area, and our minister for this, Mr. D.K. Shivkumar, both of them had come for a program here. So, they had gone and inspected Ejipura. Things are coming up well. It had its own problems. I think it was a victim of some company going bust. in 2018-19, and then after that to pull it back from there takes a little more time than expected. We also thought that it's a good time to have a lot of memes in the city, right? So, but
So then let people have some fun at your cost. But
Okay.
I mean, somewhere you have to get blamed somewhere. But seriously, my predecessor, Mr. Tushar, had done the whole work with regard to Ijipura. He had got the whole project restarted again. So we hope that it should be completed very quickly. I had in fact assumed it would finish by March next year, but the way things are and the speed at which the agency is doing work, we estimate it will happen anytime between June to July next year.
So 26, it will be ready.
Definitely.
So the few other areas that we think we can kind of improve, and I think a little bit wanted to areas for improvement and where GBA can play a role. One is this whole road digging issue and parastatal coordination. So there's been some suggestions on coming up with a road digging protocol.
There's a place called Panatur in somewhere towards Sarjapur side.
Yeah.
It's got a huge population. Everybody expects that the road has to be improved, and there's a lot of issues facing that. It was so bad. I mean that a lot of people had made some noise about Panatur that the work is not completed. So our Chief Minister also gave a direction that this has to be completed quickly. So our whole team worked day and night, and you won't believe there's quite a bit of transformation in that in the last 2 weeks. In fact, 3 weeks. After we do the road, some business park, I don't know, somewhere close by, faces some current issue, and one engineer comes in the middle of the night and says, I'm going to dig. No, so you won't believe, you have problems. I mean, he just said, I'm going to dig. He said, you do what you want, but that problem of electrical line is going to be there just right after our road was done. So of course, then we had a lot of discussion to find out, our guys on the field, obviously we are not involved on that. But it is a problem. If you have issues always going to be there. If a water supply line leaks, it has to be fixed. If a sewage line is going below the road, and many places it does go below the road, because if you increase capacity, it will have to go below. Third, there are so many houses being constructed sometimes in the same plot. Earlier, densification happens automatically. The amount of sewage which goes into the line is so much that it just leaks on the road. Somebody has to dig. Now, they cannot wait for us to have some solution that you cannot stop them from doing their work, because it affects more people than by stopping. I mean, even if you have a little bit of a difficulty in the road, you cannot stop. So what we can theoretically do is, if there is urgent maintenance required and somebody is going to be affected, this has to be done post haste.
Can I add to that question? So how do other cities, the problem that you are highlighting is relevant for all cities, right? Sometimes there is a water line, sometimes a sewage, sometimes whatever, right? How are they handling it? And can we learn few things from them as well?
Yeah, I think most of the cities face almost the same difficulties. It's not that. It's only that the protocols have to be very clear. Yeah. One of the things which most of the cities have managed is they find some mechanism. Bangalore itself has proven a certain methodology, right? They had this tender sure roads, if you're aware of it, where they said that nothing will be done in the middle of the road. You work on shifting all the utilities to the side. And I mean, for the last, 10 years back, and those roads are fantastic even now. It is only that these are the kind of level of investment required to get this done is quite high. We have estimated it close to be around 12 crores to 14 crores a kilometer is what is required for only just the shifting of utilities. So even the city, in fact, the government has approved, and this before I joined, they have done close to 150 kilometers of white topping, wherein they have done cement concreting, which means you cannot cut utilities and go in some way. Second, there are a lot of roads, again another 150 kilometers is again being constructed. And a lot of the problems which people complain about presently are in those roads where the work is ongoing. You have dug up the sides, the utilities are left out, and people are unhappy. But once these roads are completed, you will find that there's not much of difficulties in those locations.
As a city, I think we have great weather, and it's a shame that a lot of these areas are not walkable, right? So we can be as good as any other city when it comes to the usage of even the last mile. When we talk about last mile should always never be a vehicle. The last mile can always be a walk. So I think this Bangalore Nadige hopefully will fuel some of that.
We are trying to ensure that, I mean, in the budget itself of the BBMP, which was presented, they had talked about a pedestrian first policy. So in this regard, the idea is you should ensure at least 2.5 meters of footpath, or at least minimum 2 to 2.5, maybe 3, 4, and have a uniform carriageway wherever possible to ensure that it's walkable. And our aim is that once we get these wards started and we have more accountability and more staff working at the local level to look at individual issues, the idea is, can we focus on a pedestrian first kind of way, so that if you want to walk anywhere, we'll be happy to do it. In fact, we have been quite happy to work with Bangalore Walks. I think there is one, the Ugly Indian has been working. Arun Pai is a great person to espouse and talk about walkability in Bangalore. And wherever we find partners who are willing to take the first step in improving quality, we'll be happy to support.
So one area that we have talked about, and Unboxing Bangalore tried or we have implemented it on Church Street, which is the ability of any corporation, any company in the city to adopt a street road. Any thoughts on that, Maheshwar? Can we use the template that's happened in Church Street to get more and more of our roads adopted by?
This is something which is a very, very interesting thing and should be taken forward. I mean, it would be very nice if most stakeholders come in and say, I have ownership over ensuring this area is clean. It is it's basically civic engagement.
Right.
And civic engagement is something which is required in the city, because everybody wants their city to be doing well. So we would welcome. When you look at the city itself, I think the core area of the city is something which is really built well for being able to walk. I think that core area of at least 10 square kilometers is something which can really be developed, and that's where your Bangalore festival, right?
Yeah, Bangalore Hubba.
The Bangalore Hubba also happened. I think we should focus.
We are gearing a Freedom Park. Is the anchor venue,
So Malini, this year, what are the dates for the Hubba?
BLR Hubba is happening between January 16th to January 25th, 2026. 10 plus anchor venues. And what I can say is, in the third edition, Mr. Rao, the BLR Hubba has moved so quickly and grown so rapidly that I think in the next 3 to 5 years, Prashanth, that we wanted this to be India's largest city festival. We should be on our way.
And I think we're on the track for that. And thank you for all the support. The Deputy Chief Minister last 2 years has been very, very vocally championing and saying that our city needs this kind of, and like you said, Bangalore has this very unique characteristics. We have people who have been in the city for 100 years, and we have people who have been 100 days, right? How do both of them come together and experience what the city has to offer? Somebody has to create these scenarios, situations, and these festivals. So that's one of the reasons why I think it's great that we're working together on the Hubba.
Talk about, Mr. Rao, what is it like to be under constant media glare, social media pressure? What is it like for a bureaucrat like you? What kind of pressure does it build?
As of now, we have a lot of, there's a lot of support, at least from the government side, for all the issues, and anything which comes in social media, they just ask us to see what exactly is our version, because you cannot be right all the time, and there are so many problems which keep cropping up in a city, so you cannot, you'll have to keep reacting to a lot of situations. But in a way, the city has tried to see how it can identify issues raised in social media in a positive way. You have a criticism, it means you have to get some area, some problem sorted out. A lot of times people do give very good positive feedback, and in many times you also can, if you see something happening quite often, then you know that there is a problem which requires to be fixed. So we do look at how we can use criticism in social media or issues raised there, along with issues raised in mainstream media, press feedback. So we have got a whole control room devoted only for public grievances, which where you have a guy sitting in front of the TV looking at one channel, then there'll be one guy looking at what's happening on Twitter, we'll be looking at if you're tagged somewhere. So all of them will be there just to see if these issues are there, which can be, I mean, what are the problems which are being raised, tickets are raised, and down the line people are asked to see how they can resolve these issues.
So, Mr. Rao, we had reached out to social media and public at large, asking them, what would you want us to ask you? So, a lot of questions came, and we've distilled some of those questions to ask you some questions around GBA. But one of the things was this centralization versus empowering at a local level, this delicate balance. So some talk about if the act pulls power upward, centralizing everything at the top, right, towards the state, with making the CM at the helm of it, right? And how do you see this balance between efficiency and local democracy play out?
So I think when they frame the act itself, great care has been taken to ensure that you do not violate the constitutional provisions, which is the 74th Amendment, which talks about the creation of the Nagarpalikas and corporations. And the aim of that is to ensure that there is local stake in local governance. Now, how has this been handled here? The individual corporations are to be elected, and the mayors are members of the Greater Bengaluru Authority. The mayors, of course, in the present act have a term of 2.5 years, which was originally, I think, 1 year. 1 year. So there used to be 5 mayors in every term, and now it is, of course, 2.5 years. And you have also created what is known as a ward committee. So now what is the provision? So you have at the local level to handle smaller issues, or handle their budgets and allocation of funds, which is to be decided by the local body in a smaller jurisdiction, because you felt that one big corporation was not doing justice for the requirements of such a large population. 5 corporations are there would be 5 mayors, 5 standing committees, and there are now close to around 368 wards which has been notified for public comments. That means more or less there are going to be 368 wards in 5 corporations. The smallest corporation in terms of number of ward members or councillors would be around 50 in the Bangalore East Corporation and about 111 in the West Corporation. All of them, the average population size for a ward committee or a councillor would be about 20 to 25,000 or 20 to 30,000 with the range within which you would have this population. So you are able to do it, and some of them, because of the sheer number of people in certain areas, you may have it very, the councillor would be, or the corporator would be very close to the people handling day-to-day issues, which is what a normal citizen is looking at. Whereas the larger projects, some things which cuts across cities, which sometimes people don't bother about, the planning function, things which are more long-term in nature, some of those projects where government also puts in its money, those are things which should be handled by a separate authority, by the Greater Bengaluru Authority. The Greater Bengaluru Authority, what is the kind of structure it has got? It has the Chief Minister as the head, it's got the Deputy Chief Minister who is the Minister in charge of Bangalore, it's got the Minister for Urban Development, all the MLAs, all the MPs who belong to Bangalore, and all the stakeholders, heads of all the stakeholder organizations, and they decide the policy, and the Commissioner implements these policies with regard to how the cities, how the implementation is done. And once that is done, once the policies are framed and the general directions are given, there is an executive committee also who will monitor the implementation on a regular basis. So you have got created a mechanism at the Greater Bengaluru Authority where you have the Chief Minister overseeing implementation of longer term projects, trying to ensure that the overall vision for the city is in some form, or the greater or the bigger or the whole city of Bangalore is handled in some way. and individual city corporations, based on their revenue, look after the basic core functions and whatever else that is required for the city, for which takes care of the. So I think there can be a lot of synergy between the two. Now, how do you handle the issues of local public involvement? Earlier, you had around 190 wards, so around 7 members in the ward committee. They would look after the budget, they would look at utilization of the ward budget. Now there are 14 members, 7 who are there nominated by the corporator, but 7 people who want to contribute, they can be taken. If there are more people, then you draw a lottery. But this ward committee will meet regularly and they will be able to oversee the implementation, and there are some powers also given to them in different areas to look at how the budgets are implemented, what are the action plans required for the area, how do you look after your basic assets in the ward, what may be required for the ward. Those people who are in that ward can be involved, and it is important that the ordinary citizen's voice is heard at some level, at different levels, not just some level, at different levels, because every stakeholder has something to contribute for the city and for the growth of the city. So this is the idea. But of course, you're going to now face a small issue when the city has been divided, that now the funding for each of the corporations will have to be looked at. Say some places where there are more commercial complexes may get proportionately more revenue than purely residential. So I think the mechanism has been created in the Act so that there are some kind of state transfers which will happen in future when the Finance Commission goes into the transfer of revenues of the state and allocation of funds, wherein you will be able to look at what population or which corporation gets some additional grants, etc., to do their operations.
This is from the state's kitty.
From the state's kitty.
Okay. So right now, how was it happening under BBMP for different areas? And today in the news, that yesterday I think DCM announced, right, that tax collection from a specific area will get deployed and invested in that.
It is like this: if you have a corporation and it's independent, then the revenues it earns from property taxes, advertisement will belong to it. It cannot be transferred outside.
It cannot.
It cannot. Earlier, unless it wants to invest that funds for some larger project which it thinks it can entrust it to some other agency. But other than that, the idea would be its funds can be utilized for development within that area, and therefore we hope that some of the areas which are contributing their tax revenues will be doing. But then on the flip side, you have to come up now with a different model of revenue generation, which will also be something to be looked at as to how the other regions also generate more revenue. So there could be some kind of competition on how equity will be there, on how they are going to look at and how you are going to provide the facilities now.
Is there a huge concern around inequitable growth? Because there is a, say, Mahadevpura, where a whole lot of revenue is being generated, tech hub, vis-a-vis other part where it is not growing as rapidly or does not bring enough revenue. So that question of equity is what a whole lot of people are asking as well.
It has to be tackled. If there is an equity issue, there is an institutional mechanism to tackle it now. You have got this, they are going to constitute the Finance Commission, which is there's a provision for a Finance Commission to look into this. Definitely allocation of funds from the state-owned resources which will be decided. Now we'll look into the equity issue also. So but then you will also have to look at whether how the other corporations now will look at financing their requirements and how they are going to implement programs in future. That's going to be we'll have to see how it moves forward. So when you have built 5 different ones, there could be scopes for economies to be created, more efficiencies to be generated. Those are areas which will have to be looked at, and each corporation will definitely be going into that area. And those which feel that they are going to have a shortage of revenue by any chance will be all the more keen to improve the efficiency of service delivery.
At a city level, are there new areas, new streams of revenue that the city can explore that we haven't tapped so far as a city?
Some couple of areas where the corporation has been working on in the last couple of years has been that since 2018, there has been practically no revenue, advertisement revenue coming for the city. There are all projects have been planned only in the form of funded projects. Would there be scope for other ways by which certain services can be provided? Can you use advertisement creatively to provide say skywalks? Lot of requirements are there for investment. One of the major areas which I think the city has to look at are two things. One, how do you ensure proper lighting, because well lit streets, there will be less chances of mugging and crime. Second, good quality bus stops. Third, you want to cross the street, the area which you cross has to be well prepared, in the sense it should be safe for you to cross. There should be refuge islands in different locations. So one, safety of pedestrians, safety of commuters, safety of the citizens, those are areas where there is a lot of requirement. So one place what the city did has been that they have taken up this project of converting all the high maintenance electrical fittings, the lights, etc., to put on LED lights, because you will automatically save close around 20 to 30% in your operating cost.
Focusing on climate readiness, BCAC, BCAP are doing a lot of work, but this city is also experiencing the aftermath of climate change that is happening, from floods to change of weather to unusual rains or rising temperature and AQI as well. What we as a city are doing to tackle some of these issues that is confronting all cities, and Bangalore especially now?
We've got a senior officer looking at climate related matters and the goals which have to be adhered to. They have created clubs to get the information to all the kids, get them also to be climate, create awareness and generate awareness about what we should do as citizens for our contribution to it. At the same time, we are also going to put goals across various institutions in future and across our own organizations. Internally, first you have to get your act together. So the Climate Action Cell in the future is now going to be putting its own targets for ensuring that within the organization, all our bodies, all the agencies within the city corporation itself adhere to some
Can you
targets.
talk about one or two goals that one is looking at?
I don't know. Zero emission kind of thing, ensure lower reduction in emission within say the departments, ensuring that all our buildings are going to have solar rooftops within there. How you can become, say, a green building across all the city. All our new construction should be green by definition. Then whether we can also create the blue-green infrastructure in the city. Use our lakes effectively, because we are one city which is very blessed in terms of the number of lakes we have. So how do we use that infrastructure so that people can use it? It can become a natural way by which all our extra water can be diverted.
I think flood resilience has been a big challenge. I think we have now been witnessing it more and more, at least once or twice a year. Any plans for GBA to kind of take this up? The Bangalore has all these valleys, and we have these lake chains, and it needs more systemic thinking on how to manage these floodplains.
Typically, Bangalore is not a city which ever gets too badly flooded in the recent past as compared to what it was 10 years back. This is one area where justifiably a lot of work has happened, or the city can claim that a lot of work it has done to handle issues relating to flood in the city. And one of the best reason for that is that it has got this lovely network of lakes and what they call it the Raj Kaluves, which are able to take the water away. So the city's climate resilience plan and flood mitigation plan has been to ensure that once all this so-called treatment takes place,
network
is completed, and the lakes now have to be in a position to handle flood water for that period of time, which will ensure that it does not get goes downstream and floods the areas below it. 1,500 crores has been invested in the last 5 years, and around 2,000 crores is to be invested only to ensure that we completely handle most of the issues related to flood. Then the next question comes, can you now do it in such a way that after you take care of this hygiene factor of ensuring the water goes away, can you ensure that the flood water which is coming in is of good quality? You should ensure that you can have good natural ways by which, like they are doing a demonstration in something called the K100, which says that we remove all the impurities, ensure that it's a great and nice feeling to walk along the
just like the
primary drains.
The water bodies that you see in Singapore and Amsterdam.
And so the lake network is extremely crucial, both for flood management and I think the kind of feeling it gives to, feel it gives to the city if you can get the whole lake areas beautified.
So we did allude to this role that the city plays in innovation and being the economic engine for the country. And entrepreneurs from all over the country come and set up here. And one area that I do hear them say is the ease of doing business in the city could improve. And while we are like the Silicon Valley in some ways, some of our abilities to make interactions with the public agencies and licenses and so on more seamless, more business friendly. I think we have probably not done as much as, and we are not caught up with the pace of where the city's place is today in terms of as innovation capital of this part of the world. So another area that you think GBA can look at with the economic development agency that you have?
I think this is a valid point. You improve your ease of doing business and automatically everybody will be more interested. I mean, as it is, we do attract so many people. I think we should work harder to get, like you said, if you want to be one of the tech hubs in one of the top 3-4 tech hubs in the world, then we have to put a benchmark. And if ease of doing business will make us that much more attractive as a destination, this definitely is going to be very, very high. I mean, those which are the domain of the city, I think the stakeholders will have to work. Citizens in the city, I think, are more vociferous. They demand a certain level of service, and it should be the duty of the city corporations to rise up to that level.
So just adding to that, this is a city of innovation, startup, right? And looking at bureaucracy in the city, how do you make the bureaucracy a lot more agile, a lot more efficient, capturing data to be able to understand, right, what's going on in the city, the dashboards. Any thoughts on that? What is the city doing, the bureaucracy, to make the bureaucracy a lot more efficient?
This is one more item on the agenda of the GBA itself. That is how you improve the communication, not communication, the IT infra for all the corporations is something which the GBA is supposed to handle. But at the same time, yes, this requires to be worked on. The first step was to structurally create these 5 corporations which will make it more agile and responsive. Then you create the tech, make it tech enabled to see that they can work better. Now if you look at it, once the e-Khata system has now been installed, a lot of the title related issues will be okay. Now you are saying the next step would be to make it with dashboards and see how you can resolve issues quickly. But fundamentally, a city corporation cannot be only tech driven. It has to be something which, which are the areas you can work on? One could be, of course, water supply. There could be a lot of areas. Your lighting, there could be a lot of areas. Your project management, obviously. But some cases where there are people to people contacts, and of course now your property related matters also, it can be there. But now I think you're going to say that a lot of areas where people to people contact is required. There are a lot of welfare related activities of the city corporation which also will also have to be done.
In many ways, people in this city have taken for granted about the garbage problem, the commute problem, and that sense of pride that you earlier spoke about. Sometimes you find that missing. How do you bring that back into the city?
So the part of it, of course, a lot of it the problem we have with garbage lies with many stakeholders within the government and related parties, but there's a big responsibility with the citizen and the pride that the citizen has to take in keeping the city clean.
It's an issue. I cannot say that it is not a problem. Let me say that in many ways we play catch up. One of course is our existing infrastructure requires to be upgraded. So we have to revisit our there is a completely integrated mechanism which is now under which has been blueprint which was prepared, and then now we are almost in the stage of bidding for this, and hopefully if that comes through, you will have an end-to-end management of the garbage issue. Until such time, you will have to ensure that the existing mechanism works efficiently. Presently, what is the mechanism? Since I think 2005, 6 or 4, 5 or 5, 6, the city has declared itself to be dustbin free. So now that has resulted in only black spots in different locations. So we have in many places tried to see if we can increase the number of auto rickshaws or the collection vans to come. We have put in the whole mechanism. I think 80 to 85% of the garbage is lifted on any given point of time, has been lifted at in the city. And not even 85, I would say close to 90% or 95% of it has been lifted. But we have to improve on segregation. So what happens now is all of it comes and it gets taken as mixed garbage and taken to the landfill. We say that it is the house owner who does it. The people who do segregation say that your collection agencies anyway mix the garbage, so it is not our fault, it is your fault. So I think the key here is that we have to get all stakeholders involved. Second is mixed waste. How can we reduce the quantity of mixed waste coming into the main dump yard, because very soon we may end up having to find it's not a good system to follow.
You'll run out of space.
You will run out of space eventually. So we have to increase segregation and ensure segregation is done properly. Then you have facilities by which you can go for compost. We have created capacity to handle up to 1,200 tons per day. Now we have entered into agreement for biogas generation or biomethanation. We had entered an agreement with Goyal, so hopefully they will start off with close to at least 500 tons of waste. But they want good quality organic waste. So somehow in one way we have to tackle the issue of segregation at source. Second, we have to tackle the issue of people throwing it on the on what becomes a black spot. You remove a black spot from one location, it will come up in 4 other locations. It's not something you can just sort out, because people in many areas are habituated to take and dump their garbage outside the house. They will not store it even for a day. So now we have to come up with innovative mechanisms. We're still trying to find a solution for that. The latest one is, let us see if we can at least keep some garbage receiving station where a person is there manned, who will at least educate the persons who are coming to dump in the daytimes, find out what is the reason they dump in the night. So it's ingrained in your mind that you have to
keep it out of the house.
Keep it out of the house. Even if it is on the road, it's somebody else's problem. It's no longer my problem. We have now thought of an integrated management solution. It seems to have worked in other cities.
Exactly. The visual cleanliness in other cities definitely a notch above Bangalore. This is one area we have to do.
And this has to be done. Now the tenders are out, but over the last, there have been a couple of litigations on the bids we have issued. If those, we hopefully will be able to come out of it very quickly, and once that is done, then the process will be on quite fast. But debris management is not part of integrated solid waste management. Yeah. So I have to we have to think of a mechanism by which this debris, construction related debris, can be handled. I think the Bangaloreans are some of the best, very, very amiable people to be with. So We hope that this continues, and we will do our best to see that this culture of the city and its cosmopolitanism continues to remain. And definitely that is one of the reasons why it is such an engine of growth for the whole country. So this is something which is the city has to be really proud of, and we hope that we can maintain the same in future.
Thank you.
Thank you
It
so
was a
much.
lovely
Lovely.
Thank you so much.
conversation. Lovely to have you. Thank you so much.